Let's go for a little clarification of the browse lookup. It's such an important function in FilePro, probably one of the very most used functions in the input tables of most FilePro programs. It allows you to get information from another file and display it on the screen, or actually do things with that information and so forth. We did this processing, and I'm going to run over this entire processing again really quick so you can see what it's doing. We have no input processing in the invoice file. When you press escape, it just ends. Okay, and when you enter field 3, we declare a variable and we say that that field is equal to field 3. Old value is equal to field 3, and we end, just to take a little snapshot of the field as we're entering it. That way, when we leave the field, we can first of all test to make sure they don't leave the field blank. If they do, put them right back in it. And secondly, we could say, is the field when they leave it equal to the old value? In other words, if they've already got a good value in there that's done its lookup and presented the information on the screen correctly, then we'll leave that. Then we'll end also. Otherwise, we do a little subroutine, which you know that if you're programming top down, both on the input table or in a little trigger routine like an at when leaving, you try and put the go sub just as close as you can to the end of the routine. So we'll see that down here we have our clear address routine, and all it does is clear all the values that we're displaying on the screen and then return. That's good. Now we go back to where that go sub sent us. Okay, it sent us here to the go sub, and now we're back, and we're going to execute the next command after the go sub, and that happens to be a display to show what that little go sub did for us. Why don't I put the display inside the go subroutine? I could put it down there, fill all the fields, display them right away. But a lot of times I have totaling subroutines and such that work in output processing where there's nothing to display on the screen. I still do the totaling though, or I still do things in the subroutines. I only show results of subroutines if I have to. A lot of my subroutines and a lot of your subroutines will be things that don't need to be displayed on the screen. So I leave the display for after. And right after it's done with the display, it checks the next if line, nothing to do, so it begins to do a lookup. In this case, we've set the lookup to be an exact match. And I'll just run over the lookup code. We look up into the VG customers file, but we're going to give it an alias or a lookup name of VGC, just so we can type in all the values easier. The key field we're going to use to go into that file and look up a unique customer is field 3, which is our customer code. And that's unique in this file, and it's unique in the other file. We're going to use the index built on customer code in the other file. And we're doing this exact match and saying end. This end means don't do anything if you fail, because we're going to handle it right here. If the lookup does its line, and the very next thing we're going to do is test whether it failed or not. If we say not VGC, that means the lookup failed. And believe it or not, I have to show you that if you say if VGC, that means the lookup passed. That we could do something based on whether it passed or not. Well, since we had a lot of things to do, or whatever, if the lookup failed, I decided to do the not lookup first. And in fact, throughout FilePro, that is just simply the only way to do it. Always deal with the negative part of a lookup. If a lookup doesn't work, deal with it right away. The first thing. What do you do if not lookup? If not VGC or not lookup name? In this case, we're going to go to a browse lookup and show them it didn't fail. It failed on an exact match. Let's show them the next closest thing in alphabetical order on a browse, so they can maybe pick the customer code they want. Here, once we get what we want, we fill in the proper code. Even though it probably is correct on this lookup, it's already correct. We don't have to fill it in here. We find an exact match. In this case, we don't have to fill in the code, so I'm going to take this one away. Just showing that for clarification before of something else. We fill in the different lines of the address line, all with values from the other file. In this case, we're filling in 8, which is the company contact, the contact name. We're filling it in with 2 values from the other file, and pushing a space between the 2 values, first name and last name. Then we're filling up all the rest. The company is equal to the company in the other file. The address fields in this file, 10 and 11, are equal to the address fields in the other file. And then we have 12 is city, and we start city, state, zip. And they just go all the way past the end of the line to here. We're filling up all the values in the build to address. Once we're done filling them up, we display them and we end. That's all this little when leaving field 3 routine was ever supposed to do. It's supposed to just look up a value that they type in the customer code and get the address and display it on the screen. Okay, now what's the rest? Let's go to this browse lookup, take a look at it. The browse lookup, which we go to in case there isn't an exact match in the other file and the user didn't type in an exact customer code. And what user is going to type in a full 8-character customer code when they can just type in a few letters and get really close to it on a browse and then hit enter? Not many. So in any case, the browse lookup, we can go over the syntax, but it's a little hard because of the way it's shaped. So let's go over it using the browse lookup wizard. Remember that it goes past the end of this line here, and it goes sometimes, many times, past the end of this line here, so that when you're trying to modify browse lookup, unless you're very good and unless you're pretty advanced in what you're doing, you don't want to modify the 2 browse lookup lines by yourself. You want to use the wizard to do it. Until you get into the advanced mode, then you can start typing things in. All right, this tells us the lookup file is VG customers. That's fine. The alias, or the name for the lookup, is the smaller one, VGC. The key, we're going to use a key field. We're not going to use a record number to look to do this lookup. And that really pretty much is the 2 ways to get data out of another file aside from fuzzy search. Fuzzy search, I'm not even going to discuss using a lookup with fuzzy search. There may be applications for it. I'm sure several of you might find them in your advanced modes, but I don't know of one right now. So those are the 2. The other thing's a free lookup. We're going to do that a little bit later. Okay, we're getting data out of this file from index A. We're using field 3 in this file to look through index A and find a unique match. And this one we're saying, should we protect that record? No. Remember we talked about protecting a record means to lock it so that while we're looking at it, no one else can see it. We don't want to do that. What if there are 20 people entering invoices and all they want to do is get the name and address of someone? They're not changing that other record in the customer's file, so we definitely don't want to protect in this case. And here's a G. This is very important. We want to do the next greater match in this case, not an exact match. Because we're going to just type in the first 3 or 4 characters of a cust code and get as close as we can to it with that. And we've already guaranteed that by having a unique little number after the first 4 characters of every customer code, we're going to get higher and higher matches pretty much on the same customer code, first part of every customer code, the beginning part. Okay, this is what to do if the lookup fails. Remember I told you blank the field. Well, that's something we hardly ever do. I mean, you can, but I don't. We can either do something when the lookup fails, which is put up an error that just says lookup failed and it pops them back on the screen. That's no good because what can they do about it? Nothing. They have to type in a different key field. In our case, we're saying do nothing because we're going to do something with if the lookup fails, we'll do something about it. And here we're saying that, yes, it is a browse lookup. Here's the stuff on the browse lookup. We're using customer code, company, we put city, and we're putting last name here. Okay, let's see what these fields are. They're all the fields in the other file that represent those names. Now we're going down and we're placing the browse on the screen, and this is the size and the shape of the browse, the row and column it starts at, and how long it is. This again is that screen that pops up when they press V to view a pop-up. Once they highlight a record on a browse, they can pop up any screen from that other file, and you just pick which screen they want to pop up. If there was a screen 0, you could pop it up. If there was a screen, say, called invoice, you could pop it up. We only have a screen 1 in that file, so that's what we're going to pop up. Okay, it just shows them a little more information than can be fit on the browse line. Again, this is a situation where you can place this wherever you like it. Okay, do we want to show only the records that match the key? No, we want to see greater and greater and greater matches and lesser and lesser and lesser matches. We're just going to pretty much put this highlight somewhere in the middle of the browse and go from there. Here's the show options, the keep options, and this means what do you want to do with the highlight if you come back and re-execute the browse. Okay, and the prompt here actually says browse window show option. Okay, and it says leave blank for default. That's what we did. And until next time, I'm going to leave this blank again because that's fine. We're going to discuss the keep and the retain position in a little bit. That's coming up. Okay, exit keys. Here's one. While we're doing this, let's add an exit key. Let's add the exit key X. Okay. All right. And we would have left it blank if we didn't want any. Here's the thing that says, are we going to ascend in the browse? Yes. We want it to come in alphabetical order. We want to put the highlight somewhere in the middle, as close as we can to the records we're looking for. And do we do any special particular processing as we put each record in the browse window? No. The records are fine the way they are. So we're going to do this. We've now made a slight change to the browse. The change that we made, you can see over towards the right on the over on line 17. It says that X key equals 17. That's a little shortcut for saying that the only exit key that's allowed off this browse is an X, meaning that's the only key that the user can press while they're on the browse that we can intercept and do something. If they press any exit key, you can trap it and do something from it if they press X in this case. What are the two other keys I told you that are always available to every user on every browse? They are the break key, okay, a special key called break or cancel, and they are the save key or escape or escape in Windows, etc. These two keys have to be dealt with. They're on the browse, sitting there, moving their cursor up and down, and they may press break or cancel or Control C. They may press escape. If they press break, we're just going to clear the browse, we're going to clear the field they had typed in, and we're going to display that fact so the screen shows us clearing the customer code field, and we're going to put them right back onto the customer field, onto the code field, which is field 3 on this screen. If they press escape, we're just going to go to the browse lookup line, which is on the top line 16. You'll see we're just going right back and execute the browse again. And in computer parlance, re-executing something immediately pretty much looks like nothing happened. We saw that the highlight bar might move around, but we can deal with that later. Okay, this is what happens if they're on the browse here. Let's imagine that the user's got the browse up on the window and their cursor is actually the instruction pointer is sort of sitting right here at the end of the browse, waiting to see what they do. Well, let's say they're not going to press break, they're not going to press save, and they're not going to press enter, which means you don't have to trap or enter. It's one that you don't need the special key, but it really does have a special key. This happens if they press @sk equals ENTR would be essentially what happens here. But since it's a default kind of thing, and that's all you mostly do with the browse, press enter on the record you want, we're just going to say if they press enter, do all this stuff in a row until it stops, okay? All right, and the stuff we're going to do is we're going to grab the right customer code, the full right customer code. We're going to grab all the address lines, put in where they go, and we've done that. Once we're done getting that stuff, we're going to clear the browse off the screen. Then we're going to display our current screen, the one that we were on, and we're going to end. So that will show, what this will show is the correct code and address of whatever browse record they picked. Okay, what did we add? We added the fact that they may press X. What happens if they press X? That's a kind of a different way than pressing break. We want them to say X to exit this browse and start over again. For some reason, they didn't see what they wanted. So I pretty much want to say before the enter key, which is nothing, pressing, no key, special key at all, just it's the special key enter. Before that, before we fall through to that, let's say if the key they press, which would be the browse key, not a special key, it's a browse key, it's an exit key called a browse exit key. If that equals X, and I always put it in capitals, doesn't matter which one they pick, lowercase or caps, it's the same thing. But I always test if the key, while they're on the browse, if they press a physical key on the keyboard other than these two, these are the only two that they can press besides regular keyboard visible keystrokes like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, semicolon, period. If they press an X, what do I want to do? Well, believe it or not, I want to close everything, close the browse, so I want to clear the browse. And then I want to clear the field they're in because they obviously didn't get what they wanted by this code. So I'll clear that, I'll display it, and I will put them right back on the screen where they were. That's what's going to happen when they press X. Again, if they're on the browse up here and they don't press anything, they just press enter, it's going to fall through here. That's not true. This line's not true. This line's, again, not true. They did not press X, so it's going to fall through and do all the stuff as if they pressed enter. Whenever they press enter, we fall through all the possible keys they could have picked. And we can establish many more different keys to do different things, but basically if they press enter, the only way they're going to get to this place that fills in an address. Otherwise, they're going to be either exited back to their key, or they're going to have nothing happen at all, like on this screen. Let's go see what the X does. Let's do it on a new record. I press update. I'll put in our same Acme. I'm on invoice number in the wrong screen. Jeez, I keep doing that. Screen 1 is the only screen that I have set up that allows me into the right fields. I press update. Okay. Now I put in a custom code of ACME 100. Let's say I think the number that I'm putting in is let's say I think the number is Acme 0000. I put that in. There is no match. So I come to the first Acme record, though, and the one I really was thinking of was Acme, it was Acme 1001 that I was thinking of. I hit enter on the screen and I would get the address. But instead, I'm going to just move around on the browser, and finally I said, I don't really see what I want. What I really wanted was Acme 1008, and I don't see it, so something must be wrong. I'm going to press X. Press X, it does exactly the same thing as if they had pressed the break key. This is a pretty good functioning browser we have. Now I'm going to cancel out of here, and just for sanity's sake, I'm going to go remove screen 0 from this file. I'm on screen 0, I'm going to press delete. I'm going to highlight that, press enter on that screen, escape, escape. Yes, I want to delete it. I'll never have that problem again. Okay, see you on the next lesson.